Okay, so again, I'm recording. Please take notes. And the more focused you are today, the easier it's going to be for you the rest of the week. Remember, I want to remind you first off, as I promised, I want to start off with kind of an objective list and make sure that we understand what we did yesterday and the day before. So number one, I want to remind you that you have a quiz on Friday, right? Who can help me tell the students that didn't listen yesterday and the day before what the quiz is on Friday? Yes. That's right. Very good. Just like we said yesterday, the quiz on Friday is on experimental design. And just like I told you yesterday, your homework that I'm going to check off today, if you did or not, that I've already started to go over. I went over the first problem, and another class and I finished about 4 of them. And during advisory, I hope to finish another bunch, and then after school the rest. Anytime you want to jump in on the tutoring sessions, I encourage you to do so. So based on the homework, your homework is actually a practice quiz. Or you might call it a study guide. Because your homework, that homework assignment, that practice quiz, that study guide, is indeed what your quiz is going to look like on Friday. So I wrote it down. I'm saying it to you. I hope you guys are listening and you're processing it. So make sure you know what the right answers are. Again, I will post the right answers this evening after we've had a chance to go over them. And compare your answers to the right answers. Am I clear? Today is Wednesday. I will post them as soon as I get home. So about 6 o'clock, you should be able to start on Wednesday night to go over them. Tomorrow you have advisory, and then you have Thursday night. And you've been given opportunity to go over it here in class. And number one, I've already gone over question number 1 already. So you're going to see a question like one of those on Friday. So make sure you know how to do it. If you don't know, see me during advisory, see me after school. Am I clear? After you've had a chance to go over how to do those questions. And we went over some of that in class yesterday. Yes, how may I help you? Question? Again, I'm not going to use your name any of your names because we're recording. All right, so homework, practice quiz, study guide. So so this is experimental design. Tonight, I hope to get your books out, your e-books out to you. So secondly, I want to make sure everybody understands that your e-books are coming. Right? Everybody get that? All right, so you'll be getting new assignments and new practice problems through that ebook platform because it's a complete platform, not just an ebook. And now today's objective is to start to build a cell. We're going to build a cell. And you're going to get some activities. You're going to get, we have a lab tomorrow. Everybody knows we have a lab tomorrow. Right? There's no question you have a lab tomorrow. So today we're going to start and just to make sure we go over tomorrow. So this is yesterday, right? And this is today. And now this is tomorrow, right, on average. And today's objective is clear. Tomorrow we have a lab. It's a paper chromatography. Paper chromatography does not require, there's not a lot of danger except maybe we have some flammable liquids. We don't have, you do need your goggles, you're gonna need your aprons, you're gonna need your gloves. We're not working with fire, but the liquid is flammable, it's alcohol. So it's no different from the alcohol that you put on your skin, rubbing alcohol, okay? But it is a flammable liquid, you have to be careful, you don't wanna get it into your eyes. The other thing is there are safety equipments here. I wanna point out that we have our fire blanket, our fire extinguisher, our first aid kit is in our safety closet. Everybody knows where that is, right? Does anyone not know where that is? Does anyone not know? Everyone here has passed the test. They have your safety contracts. If I don't have your safety contract, if that's still missing, you're not doing the lab tomorrow. We will set you up out in the hall. All right. So that was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Now let's go ahead and start today. Cell. Can anybody tell me what a cell is? Anybody have any idea what cells are? Anything?
Isn't it made up of atoms?
Okay, that's good. Somebody's thinking about the hierarchy of life. That's excellent. And she's thinking atoms, molecules, it's going to be organelles. It's a basic unit of life. I love that. That's excellent. That's perfect. Basic unit of life. It is made of atoms, but all things we have are made of atoms, but it's also made of molecules, right? Made of biomolecules specifically, yeah?
Don't it got like the nucleus and membrane?
Excellent, yeah, it has a nucleus and membranes, excellent. Well, I love these answers. See, we know a lot, don't we? So, basic unit of life, it's made of atoms, everything's made of atoms, it's made of molecules. What kind of molecules is it made of? Who can tell me? Biomolecules, what are those biomolecules? Who can tell me? You should all know what they are, right? Carbohydrates, right? It's made of carbohydrates. And what else is it made of? Proteins, right? That's good.
They start with an N.
Lipids, I love it.
Nucleic acids.
Very good. Nucleic acids, excellent. Excellent. Nucleic acids. So we made of nucleic acids, of lipids, of proteins, and carbohydrates. That's our building blocks. That's the bricks we're going to use to build this cell. And somebody mentioned just a second ago, I kind of like to do things in order, but someone mentioned a second ago over here on my right, we mentioned that we have things like the nucleus and the membrane and things like that. And we call those things organelles. And we looked at that during the hierarchy of life, right? So we knew that was coming. Do you agree? Yeah. All right. Well, how do you want to build this cell? What do you say we start talking about the outside first? Let's build it from the outside in. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So one of the characteristics of life that we talked about is this idea of organization, right? And I'm going to go ahead and let's talk about houses. Can we talk about houses if we think of cells? By the way, what's another use of the word cell? How like everyday Americans use the word cell? They don't really think of biology, so.
Like jail.
Like a jail cell, right? Well, a cell means a room. That's why we call jail cells cells. They're just a room. And so a cell is a space. And the first person to look at a cell looked at it underneath a very rudimentary microscope. And when he looked at it, it was a him, and he looked at it, and he looked at a plant cell, and it had very rigid walls. And today we know that's a cell wall.
That's outside.
That's outside. Now this is for a plant. He looked at it for plants because he looked at cork, this thing called cork. And you've all seen cork. Has anybody seen cork? Cork, like that soft material. It's actually
Like on a wine
like in a wine bottles, and some people have cork floors. You see them, right? You can see the cells. They're so big. You can see the openings. Well, under a microscope, it was easy for him to see it. And when he looked under a microscope, he saw these things that looked something like this. No, they were dead. It was dead. Cork is dead. The cells themselves are dead. What did you have left? The cell wall. The cells were dead. There was no cell left, but there was a cell wall. He called those empty spaces cells. He called them cells. He was the first to call them that. We'll talk about the history of it later, and I just want to get the ideas out, because I find when I mix the names and the ideas all in one presentation, it drives kids crazy, right? and then you're just not sure what it is you're supposed to know? That's the feedback you're giving me, right?
Yes.
That you want me to make sure I'm clear on exactly what it is that's important. I want to be able to do that, but I also want you to be able to figure out what's important as well. So I'm gonna break it up, and I will do what I promised, to just break it down for you. And we're gonna have fast breaks, like I said, and I'm gonna have you figure out a question together in groups for a couple minutes, and we'll get back to presenting the next section of information. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so that's a cell. That's the first time we saw these little tiny things. We know that they're the basic unit of life. We know that what they're made of. We know what a protein is, what a carbohydrate is, what a lipid is, what a nucleic acid. They didn't know that back then. So historically, we're kind of working at this backwards. But I'm going to show you two different things, and they're really. I'm not a great artist. I'm working on it, but I'm not a great artist. So try not to make fun of my really rudimentary drawings, okay? But you can make fun of me if you want, but you're not being nice. All right, so let's talk about the different kinds of houses that are out there. Just two general types of houses, right? So that's right. We can have a big mansion, right? Big mansion, a big long roof. Oh, that looks like a box. And you start already. You already start. I warned you. So you got your house, and then it's a big house. You have pillars that come out here. They're really fancy house, and there's a door, and there's like a thing here. It's like little windows, and the house is long. It keeps going. It's like a really fancy house. So almost a lot of windows, right? And it's a tin. I mean, they got a copper roof. I mean, you got some porch area over here. It goes that way.
They got a 4-car garage.
Oh, you want a 4-car garage? All right, so it comes out maybe.
12-car garage.
Man, ain't nobody got no 12 car.
I'm sure they do, but they do actually. I've seen them. Those fancy.
12 garages?
Yeah, I actually saw. So, anyways, it's a really big house. It has a lot of rooms, right? There's a lot of rooms inside this house. This is a house, right? So can I say that this is a house?
A house.
A house. Let's make a double door here.
A house.
A single house. A house. It's a big house, right? Has a lot of rooms. Has a lot, 5 bathrooms and 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms and a giant, it's a mansion, right? But it's one family that lives there, right? It's one house. It's still a house, right? Now, over here across the railroad tracks, the other side of the tracks, like they say.
Make the cart.
Yeah. Oh my God! You're gonna keep picking on me. Wait till I grade your tests. Huh? There he is. That's a smart boy. That's a smart guy right there. All right. So let's go ahead. We got on the other side of the tracks. There's a neighbor, and the neighbor has just a shack. It's just a 1-room shack. There's no multiple rooms. Yeah, it could. It's on the other side of the track. Maybe there's some tree. Maybe there's a forest in between that, so that so the rich people don't have to see the shack, But
You should have made it smaller than that, so that it can make the mansion look giant.
well, it does have a roof. It does have the outside. Okay, it has one door. It doesn't have a double door, and it doesn't even have windows. Just a shack. It's just a shack, just one room. There's, if we looked inside, can I do one of those things that we like to do when we're drawing out? Can I do one of those things that we like to do in books, etc.? Let's look inside the house, inside the shack, right? Let's look inside the shack. And when we look inside the shack, there's this thing here. Looks like right here. The toilet, right? And it's sitting right next to the bed.
That bacteria don't get on your.
And then you got the kitchen sink. and you got the kitchen sink right there, because it's all one room. It's one room. The shack that's what a shack is, right? One room. So there's no bathroom, no bedroom, no kitchen. It's all in one room. So the person sleeps here, and they eat over here. There's a kitchen sink here, and there's a stove right here, and there's maybe their little tiny refrigerator.
Why are you gonna draw nothing back there?
So there's no even windows. He doesn't have windows. It's just that simple. Well, we'll put one window in. We'll put one little window in because poor guy needs some. That's it. That's all you got. See the difference in the houses, right? Okay, you can have a TV. What do you want? Next to the toilet? Or you want next to the bed? Next to the bed. Okay, because the toilet's just too much. Okay, I got it. He has a little rabbit ear television.
Do he got a pet?
No, he doesn't have room for a pet. No pets. So, okay, let's not get silly. So you got this little tiny one shack, and that's it. So everything that this guy does, he does in this one room. Where these people over here, now do you understand that? Let me again refine why this is an analogy. This is what we call an analogy, right? I need you to think about the difference in how these two things work, how these two families work, or these two people live, because they are going to be essential to you understanding how the two different types of cells work. All right, so we look at this house. So what do we know about this house? How does this house function? Or how does this person function in this house? The function in the shack, everything happens in one room. That's it. Pooping, eating, sleeping, watching TV, all happens here. Hopefully the toilet doesn't back up, because then you got poop water everywhere all in your living room. Yeah. Say what now?
You gotta have at least a few for the toilet in the stove.
Okay, he's asking a question. Yeah. In a way, yeah, a jail cell, they do that in a jail cell, except in a jail cell there are more rooms, right? This is one room. There are more rooms, it's just you get to live only in one room, right? But this is a building that is this is it. This is your unit, right? This is your unit. This is the living organism, and this living organism only has one single room, and that's it. That cell has one room. Like a jail cell, I guess, where you have a toilet and a bed right there, and that's it, right? We're good? Yeah. Yes. Seriously? I'm trying to explain something here. Focus now. So, doesn't matter. Focus. Function. So the function is everything happens in one room. Where in the big house, what the function of this big house, it's complicated, it's fancy, it's developed. You have every function.
Can we see the inside?
No, I'm not going to do that. Every function has its own room, right? I mean, this house, you have a bathroom, and in the bathroom you have a water closet where you have, so the toilet has its own room. You know what I'm saying? The shower has one of those big shower doors. The shower has its own room. And then so that's the bathroom. So you got a room within a room within a room, right? And then you got the kitchen, and the kitchen has a pantry, it has cabinets. I mean, you just got, everything has its own room. There's no question. You want to watch TV, you go to the TV room. You want to go to sleep, you go to your bedroom. But in your bedroom, you have a bathroom and you have a sitting room, so you can sit and watch. And then you have in the you know, I mean, just it's a fancy house. Everything has its own room, right? There's a good no. So the point is that, isn't that nice? Every room, every function has its own room, so everything can happen all at once, right? So when somebody goes to the bathroom, your special person lives with you, doesn't have to smell you, right? And when you're cooking your dinner, you know, the kids can be playing with mud outside or in the playroom, can be playing with their clay in the playroom and not interrupt your cooking of the meal, you know? And so everybody, you and your buddies can get together and play pool in the pool room and not be bothered by the little kids playing Monopoly or something, right? So everything has its own room and everybody's happy and it functions really well. It functions better, doesn't it? The cell work, this works fine. You can live in a shack. You can be happy in a shack. But it doesn't work as well as this, right? It's very expensive is the only thing, right? You agree? I see a lot of people staring off into space. Not a lot, but some of you. You need to understand this analogy because it's the basic analogy that's either the people that get this do well on the next test, because the next test is going to be on cells. So pay attention. Yeah.
So you saying like this is like the inside of the cell? Like
Yeah, right, good. Let's see how he's thinking. Okay, what does this have to do with cells? Yeah, it's like inside a cell. I'm about to say that. I'm about to connect the dots, okay? Yeah.
So, isn't the shack supposed to represent a human cell and the house?
Excellent. Yeah, I'm going there. I love it. Okay, so now that our fast break is over and we actually got the picture ready to go. All right, focus please. We're coming back now. We're coming back. So what is the connection? They already, 4 or 5 kids already made the connection, right? So we got our shack and we have 3 domains that we talked about already. We have these things called bacteria. Another group they are called Archaea. And the last group are called Eukaryotes. That's how you pronounce it. Bacteria. Yes, excellent. Our people already got it. They already got it. I didn't even say it. I'm so happy that usually in some years people don't even get it. You know, bacteria. What she said are Eukarya, the big house. They are. So when we're looking at this analogy, this group right here, the Eukarya, are the big house. They have a lot of rooms. And they function, very comfortably. But they cost a lot. These guys are much cheaper. They function. They do well. But everything happens all in one room. These are the little house. All right. Both of these. Bacteria, Archaea are a lot like bacteria. The only difference is that, well, there's many differences, but one big difference is that we call them extremophiles. They live in very extreme environments. And so you'll find them in salt lakes. You'll find them in a lot of different environments where you won't find anything else living. Extremophiles. They live in extreme environments. Right? So, like hot springs, look at them. I mean, you can't see them, but I can see them I have a picture, but I don't have time to show it to you. We'll look at them later. That's not really the point. The real point is that these things that we call extremophiles, they're one cell. So these are one-celled organisms. So the little house represents this idea of one-cell organisms. Right? And they're also called prokaryotes. Not only are they one cell, but they're prokaryotes. They only have one room. Not just having one cell, they also only have one room in that cell. The cell in this case means the house, right? So the living environment for the little house people, the archaea and the bacteria, each individual only has one cell, and then that cell only has one room. Everything that happens in that one room. Am I clear on this?
Yeah.
This is where people get confused. On the test, somebody maybe a number of you, every year it happens, are going to make this mistake. I'm warning you, don't make this mistake. Eukarya, we'll talk exactly what eukaryote and prokaryote means in just a second, okay? These guys, by the way, are, as I said, I want to underline these are called prokaryotes. These guys down here are called eukaryotes. And you'll see me spell it with a K or C, because there's a British spelling and American spelling,
Well,
so.
can you just use one? 'Cause that's-
Yeah, I'm use with the K, but I'm just telling you that you're going to see it with a K and a C. Eukaryotes are the big house. They have many rooms. Now, that seems simple enough, except that there's this group of eukaryotes. They have many rooms, but they are also single-celled. So you have a single cell, but it has many rooms. Where these prokaryotes have a single cell, but they have only one room. Am I clear?
So one cell and single cell are different.
No, I shouldn't have, maybe I should use the same language then. This is the same as single cell. All right, so a single cell means one cell. Yeah. Questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Could we all ask the question together? Yeah, question, then question, then question, then question, go.
Okay, so for nucleus, they have one single cell, but they have more space than a prokaryote.
That more space is. And we'll talk what that exactly means in just a second. So yeah, this protista, see it says protista. Do you see why people get it confused? Pro. So people are like, wait a minute,
Eukaryote,
huh?
but it's still the eukaryote.
Right, the eukarya. This is pro, but this is protista. This is prokaryotes. Two different words, even though they have the same beginning. You need to make sure you have a lot of people in this class, and many people in the ninth grade have a real issue separating vocabulary that are similar to each other.
How you spell that word?
It's all spelled right there. Prokaryotes and protista. 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 Two different words. Protista is a eukaryote, but they're single cell, but because they're eukaryote, they have many rooms. And the rooms, what do you think the rooms are? What do we call the rooms? Yeah. Okay, so this is where I kind of messed up in telling you the definition of a cell, that it's a room. Because in this analogy, the rooms are organelles. All right, so the rooms are organelles. And so now let's talk about it. By the way, which one are we? Are we eukaryote, archaea, or bacteria?
We eukaryote.
Eukaryote. We're in this group here.
Because that animal is there.
Right, and so are plants, see, so are fungi, yeast, mushrooms, all the animals that you can think of, include insects or animals too, by the way, and fish, etc. And the single-celled little things that float around and eat bacteria, or swim around. Mosquitoes are here in animal. Yes, question?
That protista, what makes it a eukaryote? The one on the bottom, not the one on the top.
Is that like plants? Is that like?
I love your questions. I mean, they're amazing. Do you see, you get right to the heart of the matter, right? You see how focused she is? Do you see how she got she's not the only one. There's like 5 or 6 of you that have been on the ball today. Good job. What exactly, she asks, it makes this one a eukaryote and these single cell prokaryotes? What makes them different? And that's really the question. That's the key. She hit on the one key. So you need to know all that when we just talked about it. But Animalia, it's the name of the kingdom that animals are in. Yes, question. I want to answer her question, so let me, because that's the key right there, that question. Go.
It's based off of, is it like based off of where they store things at?
Yes, that's the answer, but it's more specific than that, okay? So, but yes. So let's look at the two different prokaryote. Oh, I was starting with a C already, and I know we said we're going to keep it. I already did prokaryote with a C instead of a K. Oh, well. See how I did that? I spell prokaryote with a C, and then I spelled eukaryote with a K. Where'd he go? So prokaryote, I'm just going to keep it the same. All right, so prokaryote only has one membrane. What's a membrane? It's not actually. Membrane is things that separate stuff. We call it, the analogy in the house would be the membranes are the walls. Not the cell wall, right? It's the things that separate one room from the next. Like what? The border. Very good. The membranes are the border. I like that.
I thought it was a cell wall. Oh, it's in
I'll talk about the cell wall hopefully before we're done, because it's interesting. A lot of people get that confused. The membrane is the outside of the cell. This is the membrane. This is called the cell membrane. So specifically, it's the cell membrane that separates outside from inside. If it's on this side of the cell wall, we call it inside, and anything on this side of the cell wall is outside, and that's it. That inside is inside the cell, and anything on the other side of the cell wall is outside the cell. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'll get to that. I don't want to confuse things. So, do we all understand that part right there?
So cell wall is a cell membrane.
No, I don't want to talk about cell wall. Cell membrane, the border between outside and inside. I love that word border. It's the border between outside and inside. That's the cell membrane. You're gonna build it. You're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at it in detail. But that's the cell membrane. You have to separate, right? That's the primary order, isn't it? Do you agree that in order? Why do I have people fidgeting with papers and not paying attention when I'm trying to describe to you here? Listen, when you're organizing, what do? You come into your little sister's room or little brother's room, and there's a mess in the room. There's socks and clothes. What do you start doing? They put them in different categories, and then what do you do? Put them in order, and then what? I can't hear you. Put them in drawers. You put everything in their own space. That's how you organize. Look, the first part of that is either it's inside the house or it's outside the house, right? So this is the primary organization tool for life, right? This cell membrane is the first thing that allows us to have life. The one thing, the very first thing that allows us to say, hey, that stuff out there is happening, it's crazy, whatever's going on out there is going on out there. Everything in here is us. Everything outside is not us. There it is, the cell membrane, your best friend. All right, so that's it. That's what separates outside from inside. We'll talk more about that later. With prokaryotes, there is nothing else in. Can we not mess with? Yes, just write and pay attention. Inside here, you have DNA, nucleic acids. Somebody mentioned it. Interestingly, the nucleic acid is. Remember, we talked about DNA, and for us, DNA was what? It was 5' to 3', right? It was a double helix. Do you agree? It had ends. You have 5' and 3' and 3' and 5', and that's what we looked at in a single DNA. In a prokaryote, it's circular DNA. Ouch, confusing. It's circular DNA. There's no ends. It's like a ring. They're smaller. They're simpler, right? It's a shack, right? So it doesn't need as much work, as much energy. It doesn't need as many instructions. If I was going to give you the blueprint of a mansion, it'd be very complicated. Ethernet cables, electricity, all that. If I'm giving you the blueprint of a cell, of a prokaryote, it's real simple. So you don't need as much instruction, right? Then you have ribosomes, and you got all kinds of chemistry going on here, little molecules, but there's no organelles. There are no membrane-bound organelles. No, there's only one there's only one membrane, and that's the cell membrane. That's it. Everything else, there's no, this is key, membrane-bound organelles. That's it. Everything that's in there is all happening in inside the plasma membrane. This is true for these two groups here, right? For prokaryotes. Now, eukaryotes are slightly different, and people already figured this out. We already talked about it a little bit, but let's go ahead and kind of shrink this down, move it over here. And so when we're talking about membrane-bound organelles, we're talking about organelles that have membranes inside a membrane. Now, when we look at eukaryotes, we have a membrane as well. There's two, and you can see there's four big groups in the domain of eukarya. But so, hold on a second, let me get a smaller pen size. So in eukarya, we have these things that are called cells, and we could have basically two types of these. We have the kind that have cell walls and the kind that don't. In other words, one big definition, as you can see, as you saw from this grouping, you see that plants and animals are two of the big groups, right? Well, it turns out that plants and fungus both have cell walls, but I'm going to go ahead and draw something that looks like this. What kind of cell is that, do you think? A plant cell. How did you know it was a plant cell? Because they have sharp corners. You see that? Sharp corners suggest that there's a wall, right? Something stiff. All right, so they have a cell wall. Inside that cell wall is a cell membrane. The cell wall is actually made by the cell. It's on the outside of the cell membrane. So cell walls are on the outside of the cell membrane. And with animals, there's only a cell membrane. With animals, there's only a cell membrane. With fungus, you do have a cell wall. If you think about it, it makes sense. Your whole objective with the cell wall is to protect you against flooding, right? If you lived near the ocean and you lived near high tide, what do you think you would make sure you did? You'd make sure you built a seawall, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want the waves to come in and drown you and destroy your house, right? So you'd make sure you had a nice thick cell wall defending you, right? So anything that can't move, like plants, like fungi, right? They need to have something that protects them. By the way, prokaryotes have cell walls as well. They make cell walls. So cell walls are like almost, in many ways, like your fingernails because your cells produce it. Plant cells produce the cell wall. The cell wall itself is cellulose. You're sitting on them, right? You're sitting on cell walls right now on these wooden stools. They're literally just sugar spit out by the cell and constructed into these little unique shapes, right? All right, they fit next to each other like Lego blocks. But that's not where it ends. You know, if these were prokaryotes, that's it. We're done, right? But they're not prokaryotes. So they have other rooms. So they got a room for DNA. What do you think that room is called? Who knows? Anybody know from middle school what the name for the DNA room is? Somebody said it? Nucleus, that's right. So in here you have the nucleus. You know what? Why don't I zoom in so we can just look at it clearly? Let's do a real nice close-up. So here, right here, what we're dealing with is, let's just keep drawing it in blue. This is the nucleus. And this is where all the DNA is. It's all kind of unwound. It's a bunch of double-stranded helixes. They're eukaryotes, so there's a whole number of chromosomes. It's usually unwound. It's called chromatin. But there it is. It's a membrane. This is a membrane. This is a cell membrane here, separating outside from inside, and also known, by the way, as plasma membrane, aka plasma membrane. where here's a nuclear membrane. This membrane, now we just said membranes separate our borders, right? There are borders. This cell membrane separates outside from in. Outside, inside. All membranes do that. Outside and inside. Here, this one, this nuclear membrane, pull it out here, nuclear membrane, separates what? What is this space? What do you think we call this space all in here? Anybody know the name? You may not know it. Somebody might know. This is called cytoplasm. That's right. This is the stuff that's the kind of the liquidy part of the cell. It's sitting out there. So the nucleus, the nuclear membrane separates the cytoplasm from the nucleus. So that's where the DNA is. That's where your nucleic acids are. In fact, inside here, there's another little space where RNA is. This is called the nucleolus. So here is DNA, and then RNA is in here in the little in the nucleolus. This is another organelle that's inside another cell. Not all organelles have membranes. Not all organelles have membranes. I'm just drawing right now the ones with the membrane, right? So that's cool. We know where DNA is. Well, there's another organelle where a lot of the proteins are made. And you got to start, I'm going to tell you right now, before we go any further, you're going to get a test in about a week and a half, and you're going to have to know all the organelles and what they do. It's not that hard. It really isn't. If you find it's hard, it's because you're not working. Because it's just simply, I'm telling you what they are, learn it, right? This is not complicated. There's no problem solving here.
Is it harder than things biology?
Is it what?
Harder
Then what?
things of biology. I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to get into judging which one's harder. But I'm telling you, if you put your time in, there's no doubt that you can get this. This is right. I mean, this is stuff that a lot of you learned in middle school, anyways. So cytoplasm, nucleus, the next nucleolus. That's plasma membrane. So right now we got what? Let's count them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 different structures defined, right? All right. Well, we're not done yet, but that's the beginning of a cell, yeah. The next thing we got to do is talk about another organelle where we find all our proteins. This organelle keeps going back and forth. It's actually three-dimensional. There's not mitochondria, not yet. This is where they find a lot of the proteins. That's right. A lot of our ribosomes are here. A lot of them, not all of them. And so the black dots are ribosomes. Those are organelles that are actually embedded in the second organelle. There's some of the ribosomes are actually all throughout the cell. These black dots are ribosomes. Hold on a second. And there's a smooth part to this, and there's a rough part to this. This part that's rough, and why is it rough? It's rough because it has ribosomes on it. Remember, these black dots are called ribosomes. They make proteins. We're going to talk about how they make proteins in a little bit. But they make proteins. That's 5. That's the 5th structure we talked about. Let me get this last little bit out, and then I'll get to your question first. Then the next part is called, this is a crazy word. Some of you may have heard it. Some of you didn't. The ribosomes make proteins. And we'll go over again the functions. And you can rewind and take notes on it. But so far we have the nucleus that holds the DNA, right? We have the nucleolus that has a lot of RNA in it. We have the cytoplasm, this kind of the liquidy stuff inside the plasma membrane. We have the nuclear membrane that separates the stuff inside the nucleus from the stuff outside the nucleus. We have the cell membrane that separates the stuff outside the cell from inside the cell. And now we have this thing that deals with making proteins. And there's proteins being made all in the cytoplasm, all over the place. But this one alters the proteins and makes them and changes them and then ultimately packages them. This is called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. You never heard of that, I'm sure. I'm sure that's one, yes? Hold on, I want to hear this young lady's question. Wait, there's another person had a question first. I want that person to ask first because I promised her. What? Yes. Question? All right, I'm sorry, say that again. I'm going to email this to you, the whole lesson. So, but I can. What I'm going to do though is I can produce for you a whole, a sheet with all the organelles and their functions for you to study. Here's the thing: I give you that sheet. What a lot of you like to do is just read it over and over and over again. That doesn't work. You have to quiz yourselves and quiz each other. You have to test it. Do I know it without looking at that sheet? Make index cards, cover up answers, whatever you're doing. Do not just read it and I say, I did it, I read it 5 times, I'm ready to go, then come in on the test and say, I didn't know what was going on, I'm confused. You're not confused, you didn't push yourself. All right, so, what's the question back here?
I was gonna say, ain't that like the delivery system? The rough endo.
Yes, it does. It does have, that's part of it. There's a network of tubes, and I don't want to get into too much detail.
1 minute.
Thank you. There's a network of tubes that are that help carry the proteins and change and move the proteins from this. And I can't really get into too much detail, but there's stuff called RNA that you know about. Comes in here called messenger RNA. It's a type of RNA. The ribosomes make the protein in here, and then it's changed. This rough endoplasmic reticulum changes that protein, so that you get some changes to the original instructions. So that the rough endoplasmic reticulum deals a lot with proteins, but there's another part, and obviously we're not going to be able to finish all the organelles today. But hold on, the other part here, just to get this one done, because I think it's a good place to stop. I don't want to stop in the middle of an idea. That's one of the things we said we're going to work on. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. I'm going to put ER. Somebody close that door. Smooth ER and rough ER. The smooth ER deals with lipids. It makes lipids. There's a few other functions I'm going to want you to know about that the endoplasmic reticulum does. But so far, that's what we got. We got rough endoplasmic reticulum, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It's rough because it has ribosomes. Because it has ribosomes, it makes proteins and lipids. The smooth. Yeah, that's how you make, each of your cells makes proteins. That's how you make them with these things called ribosomes. And we'll talk about exactly how that is next. I want to summarize again. I promise you I want to summarize. I'm going to try to make sure I keep my promise. All right, so let's just do an outline right now. Outline this right now. 1, what do we need? What did we come off as we need to know? The organelles and function. 2, the difference between prokaryote and eukaryote. Right? 3, I think that's pretty much it, right? I think that actually just 2 big things. All that was just to get these 2 big ideas down. For today, that's what you need to make sure you take home, and you're making index cards on. You're trying to start to put in your long-term memory. Don't forget, you have a quiz on Friday on experimental design. Have a good day. Oh, homework. I'll check it out tomorrow. We ran out of time. It's funny, it's funny.
No, it's not.
Why do you have those on? Don't say names, we're still recording. You can't, I don't care if you're about to listen to music, you haven't left the class yet.